we have those, as I said, those companies, worldwide. We try to distribute books nationally. We try to distribute books, in our own yatra. But there's so many people maybe distributing the books, but we don't record that. And actually, it's really important. And no effort is, every single effort of distributing a book is important. It should be celebrated. So even if someone just places one book in some, an Airbnb or whatever, then that should be celebrated, because once again, we just position ourselves as the instrument of the Panchatattva, so that eventually someone can benefit from it. So it's not a small task, What is it? So we're doing a Ram Navami marathon, and Lord Ram built a bridge, across to go to Lanka, where Ravana, kidnapped Sita. And who built that bridge? He had, Hanuman, very strong Hanuman. You know him well. Cool.
Jump one.
Is it a jumper one? Not just a jumper, I heard.
Well, yeah, tattoo as well.
Tattoo. Fully empowered now. Gonna renovate houses and build bridges now. And so Hanuman, and the monkeys and the bears, they build the bridge, but you also have little squirrels, little spiders and so on, and they're all trying their best to contribute, to the same mission of building that bridge. And anytime, if Hanuman was to say, to the little squirrel trying to move like a little pebble, to build that bridge, and Hanuman would say, what are you trying to do? Get out of my way, Lord Ram would say, no, he accepts all efforts. They're actually the same. The result may be different in intensity, but the intention and devotion in the heart is actually what matters. So this is a sacred stuff. So you can once again speak to Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu and see what books you have available in Newcastle. And I wouldn't worry so much about the book points and everything. Individually, just take whatever books you read or you feel inspired by, and just try to share wherever possible. So NSF, so the Sacred Street Party here, every third Saturday of the month. So yeah, just write it in your calendar, because these are great opportunities for everyone to just try it out. Why is it? There shouldn't be any sort of fear of commitment or anything. It's just you go there, you touch the pavement. It's what Rishikesh already say. Just go there, just try, and just see the miracles unfold. I had one experience recently. It was during the Kartik last year, and so we were distributing books, and I made some sort of vow that I wanted to distribute a certain amount of books in the month of Kartik. And Bhagavad Gita, specifically Bhagavad Gita. And this one day I was toiling hard in the city in Somerset, Wales. Not Wales, but Wales. And the difference when I said it was the same. Not Wales, but Wales. Anyway, in Somerset. And I tried to distribute books, and by the end of the day, I was depleted. I didn't have any more energy, and I tried to distribute my books, but I was 10 Bhagavad Gitas short, of my target. And I was a bit depressed, but I was thinking, okay, anything can happen. If you just kind of it was the man proposes and God disposes. So I was thinking, okay, maybe Krishna can use me anytime. So maybe on my way back, to Cardiff. Stopping someone, someone may come and say, oh, by the way, I need 10 Bhagavad Gitas, or maybe, someone will call and say, oh, Gauranga, I haven't spoken to you for 2 years, but I actually need 10 Bhagavad Gitas. You never know, anything can happen. And actually, so I came back, did all my different kind of duties at the end of the day on the street, and it was quite late, and I remembered, oh, actually, I need to put fuel in a car, because when I was driving back, I saw the tank was almost full, almost empty, and but I thought, just like, don't worry about it, just you'll go later on. And so I went quite late in a petrol station, which was just by the temple, not far from the temple, and I go there, and I go for fill the tank, go to pay at the cashier, and anyway, what happened is the cashier made a mistake. He had another customer pay for my fuel, and he was about to make me pay for his fuel. And it was a bit confusing, but the customer came back and said, "Oh, okay." And then he looks at me, and I was dressed as a devotee, devotional clothes, and he looks at me and he says, "You do not know me, but I know you." Whoa. That's a bit scary, what's going on. And that's right, I didn't know who he was. And he says, "You know what? I'm going to pay for your fuel." I was like, okay. And, so pay for mine. So I paid for his fuel, which was like maybe 10 pounds something, and I did a full tank. So he paid, good amount. A good deal, yeah. And anyway, so we went out, and so he disclosed his identity. And he said that, he was, he's a devotee, but he's never really been to the temple so much. He's well known by the devotees in temple, but he's a bit shy, so he doesn't really come often. And he said, I received the Srimad Bhagavatam set maybe a year or two ago, and I'm in the 10th canto, reading through. And I'm chanting Hare Krishna 8 rounds every day for the last, however long, maybe now we chant 16 rounds, I haven't asked him, but... And anyway, and as all this was happening, and my mind was just like totally just like, it was such an insane situation, I started to think, well, should I ask him? And I said, excuse me, do you by any chance need 10 Bhagavad Gitas? And he thought for a moment, and he said, "You know what? I certainly know 10 people who would like to receive a Bhagavad Gita. 10 persons who would like to receive a Bhagavad Gita." And I said, "Great, it's a deal." So then we went to the temple, and he went to the book room, got 10 Bhagavad Gitas, gave a nice donation, and that was it, And I was just totally just amazed, Like, this is, I've been distributing books for something like, 6-7 years or something. And these experiences, when you have them, they're extremely potent. And they can come in the very first day you go out, or you can wait some time before they happen, but if we actually tune ourselves properly to what is asked from us, just from the core of the heart of Srila Prabhupada, first to just share with others, then we put ourselves in a position that, as I said, we can be used. Krishna can actually use us as his instrument to make these miraculous situations happen. And when that happens, it really builds up your faith so much, that the process works, that Krishna is real, that all this is actually like an amazing thing. So the point I'm making, talking about the street sankirtan, sacred street sankirtan, how do you say it? Sacred part?
Sacred street party.
Sacred street party. Hare Krishna. So the reason I'm saying that is because all these experiences they are available to everyone. I remember when I was in New Zealand, the first they were doing also MSF, Sacred Street Party. SSP, thank you. And I remember, so there was at the end of the SSP. I'm gonna struggle. We had, we gathered back in the temple room, and then actually it's funny because here we have beautiful Panchatattva. They're beautifully dressed. Bhakti Rupa sent me a picture of them yesterday or the day before, and he said they're dressed in the Welsh colours almost. And actually, in Swansea, for those who may not know, we have it's the same Panchatattva, probably molded in the same mold, but also in Wellington, New Zealand, they also have the same set of Fishi Panchatatva. And I think in Ireland as well, is that right?
Yeah, so there was some in Leicester, and then they went to Ireland, right? I think it's Belfast.
Isn't Belfast?
Sorry, not Ireland, Northern Ireland.
Northern Ireland. Sorry. So what was I saying that? So anyway, we were gathered in the Wellington, temple room with the Panchatatva, and I was obviously, not involved at all in trying to distribute books. I was just there, witnessing, because it was like a couple of months fresh, out of the street, And I was hearing all these people that were just sharing their experiences, and there was this one gentleman who was saying, I went to the dentist, and there was someone in a waiting room, and I just decided to start reading the book, and the person inquired, why are you reading, and then eventually got the book, and it wasn't there wasn't any pressure necessarily of like collecting necessarily, okay, now we have to pay this, you can offer, it's nice, understanding that if someone pays to receive sacred knowledge, it's actually they're making a sacrifice, so that actually qualifies them to hear the book. But even if you just give it, it's the first step. And I could see, in a room, the tension was palpable. Everyone was just like so, just like excited about just like just sharing like that. And so that gentleman said that there was this one Mataji. She was saying, she stopped this one boy on a skateboard and was with his headphones, and the guy stopped and she presented him a Bhagavad Gita, and the guy froze totally and just couldn't really speak, but he put his headphone on her ears, and he was listening to the Bhagavad Gita audiobook and was saying, I'm looking everywhere in town to find a Bhagavad Gita. Thank you, And actually these experiences, they're not uncommon, they happen really, really quite often actually. You can ask any person who's been trying to share that gift. I just need to check the time, okay. So like that, so every third Saturday of the month, please try to touch the pavement, and you can inquire with Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu how to do this. So we discussed this a little bit. If anyone wants to get any sets of Srimad Bhagavatam, please also go and speak to Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu for Bhadra Purnima, because this is a global campaign currently. So like that, the book distribution committee is kind of this is as we said, the most important point of that booklet, is, as I said, we try also to just like strengthen our ties, like just like really build relationship between the different temples. This is one of the reasons we're here. We were traveling in the UK, in the north of England, and so close to Newcastle, and why not pop in for the Sunday program, and yeah, there's nothing, it's life as a brahmachari is very simple. You distribute books in a day, you read a little bit, you chant in kirtan, and you eat. Samshis prasad. It's very simple life. But anyway, so this is kind of like a nice initiative that we have. We want like all different centers to kind of like start, knowing each other a little bit more. I remember also, for the Sankirtan festival that we do after the book distribution marathon in Bhaktivedanta Mana. I remember going there, for many years, and just like being really frightened. I'm a very shy person, and we have so many new faces, and I'm like, I don't really know if I can speak. What am I going to say? It's really kind of intimidating. But for the last few years, we've been trying to build, these relationships, and now it feels like I don't feel so intimidated anymore, because I start to know the persons, and I start I know who they are, I know their names, that. So it's just kind of the reason we're here, and please come and visit us in Cardiff also if anyone is able to travel for 6 or 7 hours and come back in the same day maybe not. So like that. Then there's also Sankirtan Hour podcast. So this is nice to podcast. I think we have 2 released right now, right? 2. And the third one, is it going to be, so Chaitanya Vallabha's podcast, so which I had a little bit of a glimpse at, and it's really inspiring. So it's another thing also, like, another thing that, the book distribution committee wants to insist on is like, there's already a lot of wealth, in the UK in terms of like inspiring people to share, this gift. And we may not have necessarily tapped in it just yet as much as we should. So like when we have devotees like, His Grace Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu in Newcastle, who's been, distributing books for the last 25 years or something, is that right? So this is something which is, really unique, and we should, we should try to take advantage of it. So once again, third Saturday of every month, to have a little taste, or more often, because I believe you go out also.
Yeah, I mean, there's lots of opportunities. The Sacred Street Party is the third Saturday of every month. And devotees can join down in Jai and Saraswati's. Come and distribute some books. They can just come and see me, and they
have. So like that, we have some, senior devotees, knowledge and tips, and we're very grateful to be here today. Just a little bit, just put ourselves on the map. Gopal sent me that, you sent a message that on Gaur Purnima, you distributed a set of Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, right?
Yeah, Matani, back to read something.
Amazing. Yeah, and there was like a Vaishnav Prabhu was, a few years ago was, coining that expression, like 1 year Fiji, distributed one Srimad Bhagavatam set, and then, the whole campaign was about, go Fiji, because, just, it's that the year before they didn't distribute a set, and that year they distributed one, so there's like 100% success, and 100% like increase. So similarly, here you distribute one book, you distribute one little set, please, submit this information to, to Chaitanya Vallabha Prabhu, and then it can be recorded, and we can celebrate, that on, here in Newcastle, but also nationally and also worldwide, and then we can have accurate figures to know exactly, what is the impact, we making, how much are we actually breaking the ice of, the material energy, in this world like that. So please, let people know. Like that, so we're gonna, this is pretty much it for today. So here you have two, if not maybe in family faces. Gopal Roy Prabhu, who is the chair of the Book Distribution Committee and also the Sanctum leader in Wales. And on the bottom you have Guru Shakti, who is the secretary of Book Distribution Committee. She was also very committed in distributing books. She's been distributing books for many, many years. And so, you have emails here, they're available for contact. Whether you have any questions, it's more recommended for you to get in touch with Chaitanya Vallabha, who is local and can get you even personally, directly, and everything. But whether you have any questions, please. So like that, thank you very much once more for your ardent desire to cooperate with my missionary work. Krishna will make you happy. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, or I don't know if we have time for this. We have like 10, 15
Yeah,
minutes.
we have time for questions, reflections.
So, Hare Krishna. Yes, please.
Have you ever distributed a book personally and gone, well, actually, that was a bad idea, that was maybe a book distributed badly? That makes sense. Like that's probably not going to go anywhere good.
Well, I guess I know what you mean. It definitely had that kind of feeling sometimes. Like I say, you can have that. You may meet someone from another religion who may be very inimical, for example, and you just like kind of pass on the book. Sometimes they're very good in coming to you and just like kind of pretending they're not from another religion. Just like, so what are you all about? Just tell me everything about what you're doing. And then they have the book in their hand, maybe give a little donation, and then they say, actually, Jesus is the only way, something like that. So So yeah, you know, it may be that sometimes you may think, oh, you know, maybe this book, you know, is in the wrong hands or anything, but ultimately, you know, it's not the case really, you know, because as I said, like the books, they're not just ordinary paper. What do you say?
Paper.
Paper. Papier. So you know, it's not something mundane. You know, it's they're actually alive. You know, they got a life of their own. You know, Srimad Bhagavatam is non-different from Krishna. You know, anything that glorifies holy name, form, activity, pastimes, you know, of Krishna, they're non-different from him. So the Bhagavad Gita or any of these books which are Prabhupada and so on. So therefore, you know, they're actually conscious. You know, they know where they're going. So you don't know, you know, you have stories. I mean, I don't have any in mind. Maybe some of you may have, but some people may have been from another, you know, religion or this or that, or just a very atheist or anything, you know. And then they just read the book and then become devotees, you know, because it just came at the time of their life. Because also, you know, to understand that, you know, these books are transcendental and they're not non-sectarian. They speak to everyone. So yeah, and as I said, you know, like I remember just reading books, and you know, one day there was this one bin man that brought me back a book, you know, that he found in the bin, and I was like, well, you know, that's a shame, you know, maybe I shouldn't have distributed that book, you know. But you could see it another way. Well, you know, in one sense, you know, the bin man touched the book, he got some sort of benefit from it. You know, you can always see it in the right. In a way that someone benefited from the fact that you just tried to give a book, Is that?
Yeah, it does. I guess the question was partly because I've only ever distributed a few books, to be honest, and I probably overthink it. But sometimes I'm like, this is a big deal. I really want this book to go somewhere good. But I guess you've answered my question. It's given me more confidence to just be like, do you know what? That book's alive. It's going somewhere good.
Yeah.
So thank you. Yeah, it does.
Yeah, no, that. You know, what we should do, we should just let Krishna decide where it goes. Yeah. You know, like, cause, you know, let's say, you know, did you try to distribute books on the street, or was it in other situation?
More like friends of friends.
Friends of friends, yeah.
Sort of like that.
Yeah, so like, yeah, we have so many, you know, ideas about, you know, maybe, you know, this person, my friend, you know, thinking that way. Yeah, I mean, the other thing is like. Yeah, we want to be sensitive, obviously, you know, like, when I first joined the Krishna consciousness, you know, first thing I did is just, you know, call my mom, call my friends, and say, you know, Krishna is God, and, you know, and this and that, but, it may not be necessarily the most sensitive thing to do in the beginning, but you know, I think you got enough. You know, you can figure it out nicely.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
I just wanted to add something to Kieran's question. So, one thing is that just having the book in your house, so you know, you've heard of Feng Shui, right? So in the Vedic tradition there's something similar called Vastu. It means that everything you have in your life or everything that you have in your house attracts a certain type of energy. Like I think they say if you keep the toilet seat up, you lose all your fortune, something like that. There's a science anyway. But the point is, if you keep a sacred, so keep the toilet seats closed. No, not when you go in, you have to. You'll have another type of misfortune. But if you keep a sacred literature in your house, it's non-different from the deity of Krishna. So I sometimes say to people, they say, oh, I won't read it. I say, it doesn't matter. Just keep it in your house, it will attract a good energy. It will bring you good fortune. And even if they just come and do the dusting and they dust that book, it's like cleaning the deities. It's like deity worship. So that's one thing. Even if they don't read it, it will attract a good energy. Prabhupada sometimes said they're like transcendental time bombs. So you might get a book and it sits there for many years. Many devotees have had that experience. And they looked at it and it didn't make any sense. But then a few years later, certain things have happened in life, and then they'll read it again, and it's like, now it makes sense. But also the thing is that we benefit by giving it as well. You know, we please Krishna by trying to give to others like that. So there's no loss, you know. So particularly like Prabhu's saying that Krishna will have a plan. That book is supposed to get somewhere, you know. The first book I got was in university. It was just there in my friend's room. And I don't know how the book got there, but it found its way to me, and I read that book and it changed my life. So just get the books out, do your best, and Krishna will do the rest.
Thank you.
And you know that, knowing that, you know, we should be so grateful for the people who are actually just trying to distribute these books, because as you know, as Chaitanya Baba just said, you know, like you don't know who he was, but someone went out of his way to distribute this book, to place that book, whatever it was, and then, you know, probably came into being, you know. So in the same way, I am just so indebted to like the devotee who came out, and which I met in New Zealand when I was in really, you know, what do you say, I guess in a haze, you know, kind of a hangover one morning, and and this lady stopped me and just gave me this book and was so kind with me, and she spent time just reading the books with me, and so, you know, so much, you know, we have this debt of gratitude that we really that we want to like repay, and the desire to repay is giving to others also, you know. So like that, someone gave it to us and we want to share. This other sense applies. Any more questions? Yes, please.
Yes, hi, thank you for coming.
Thank you
For organizing us so much. And I was just wondering, is there any difference when you present one Bhagavad Gita to somebody, and then when you would present one whole set? How would you do it?
You mean like practically or just technique? I'm not an expert set distributor.
Heavier to give someone a whole set.
It's a little heavier, yeah. Well, usually, I mean, it depends what type of set. Like, if it's Bhagavatam set or CC set, you know, we usually, if we were to go on the street, we'll place it on a nice book table and everything. In one sense, you know, there's no difference. Like the times in the street where I distributed sets, where, you know, usually, you know, I'm being really mental, and, you know, I'm trying to present the whole set and just like say, so Srimad Bhagavatam is as brilliant as the sun, and try to go a whole thing, you know. And, you know, most of the time people are just like, oh, okay, I get a little Gita, or I get a little book, or whatever I do something else, you know. But the few times when that happens, it's like the person just, yes, I'll take it. So, in my experience, you know, there is your desire that you want to like give, you know, more books out, you want to give the sets out, but it's all the work of the super soul, you know. It's like, you know, the super soul is in your heart, the super soul is in the other person's heart, and these arrangements are being made just mystically, you know. It doesn't mean that, you know, you shouldn't kind of, you know, foster that kind of desire to like, you know, okay, I'm gonna please empower me so I can, you know, give more books. I don't know if that kind of, if I'm kind of like speaking your question.
Yeah, it does. So basically it's just trying it.
Yeah, and the main thing is like the other principle of Vaishika Prabhu is the more you show, the more you sell, you know. So if you know, only present a few small books, but this is only what you're gonna be able to like give to people. But, you know, like we decided a few years ago, okay, we're gonna be trying, you know, to show some sets on the street, you know, when we go. Well, why not? You know, because, you know, we hear about so much success being done, you know, on the other side of the world, even in this country, you know. For example, the boys in Soho, you know, they distribute many sets of books, you know, on the streets and everything. So you hear all that, so why not us, you know? Therefore, you know, you just present it, and somehow other people came and got the books. So mystical. But at least you show them, and then you let Krishna do the rest. We'll say that. And yes, Prabhu.
It's not a question really. Just your comment. I would like to hear. You see, I belong to old concepts of things, and I grew with books, you see. But the virus Can you hear me?
Maybe
Thank you.
Oh, just get them in
The virus in the world,
Speak into the mic.
what I'm trying to say is that there is a kind of virus, global. The reading habits are going down and down and down. And everywhere in the world, even in the Western world, many libraries are closing down. And people are not coming to the books anymore. And this is a big challenge when we are involved in book distribution. Of course, this is the greatest thing to do. Krishna's books, it's absolutely beautiful. But now the world is going toward AI, artificial intelligence. How they cope with this kind of situation, ISKCON world, in the present situation taking into consideration.
Thank you, Prue, for your question. Well, a few things comes to mind. First of all, my spiritual master is on his Reverend Swami Maharaj. He explains that when someone asks him that question, which is quite a common doubt, that we can have, he says, well, we should see it in a way that it give us more opportunity for service. It means that we'll have to find a way to teach people and guide them to read the books. So not just we distribute the books, but also we create facilities so that people can actually, understand them, right? So this is, it seems like a very daunting task, but it is doable. And we're doing in Wales, for example. We have, I'm sure we do it here also. So many people may not read so much, but just by association, they get inspired. Then. The other point is, it may seem that way, that the book become a bit like obsolete, people don't read it, but actually, I think it's when the Kindle came up, so people thought that it would revolution the whole book industry and book will start to be printed and so on, but actually they realized that no, people want books, So there is that kind of like, it seems that externally, people just like are totally against books, but people actually are still interested in books. So certainly, you have, new generations, they come and, so many young people I meet on the street and they say, oh, what do you want me to do with the books? I'm dyslexic, I can't read. So in that way, we have to give people facility, and we have to like inspire them to just read the book somehow. So, Bhakta was mentioning, we have, for example, the podcast that we're doing. We have one podcast in Wales that we released, it's called the Welsh Yogi Podcast. We're doing that podcast here more for internal use, type of thing, the Sanktan Hour, so for more devotee friendly. But the Welsh Yogi Podcast is for everyone that we meet, and so people can tune to that podcast, and they still receive the knowledge, and eventually they get inspired, because we keep speaking of the books. And how do you tune? That was a good question, Bhakta. I guess if you do on Spotify and what other platform, YouTube? You can just look for the Welsh Yogi Podcast. But no, what I mean is like, once again, we face a difficulty. We just have to ask Krishna for the intelligence to see how we can, be successful in that challenge. So so this may be a complex situation, But Krishna can do anything, and Krishna can certainly give us the intelligence to overcome that difficulty and just tell us, okay, what can we do to actually interest people. But Srila Prabhupada's book distribution is very strong desire of his. He comes from his own spiritual master, and we saw from the whole parampara. But so the book is important, but also once again we have to build like this facility around it that will help people to just understand them. Does that kind of answer? Yeah, is that okay? How are we doing about time?
We can have one more question or reflection.
Prabhu, by distributing your books, how judgmental you tend to be, like reading a particular book. Like in chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that you should not give this particular knowledge to a person who is envious or not practicing devotion, or So how judgmental you tend to be? Do you give Gita, or you tend to give a smaller books of Prabhupada? How do you assess that?
Well, if a person is really ugly, I usually don't give the books to I remember one of my first experiences on book. Literally, it probably was my first or second day distributing books in Cardiff, and there was this lady, and she looked like all makeup everywhere, and this. Straight away, my mind is like going into there's a world of Barbie and all that. Just like she wanted to send the books and so on and so on. But then I talked to her, and she happened to be one of the most spiritual person I met on the street to that day. So it's really important that we just don't just judge a book by its cover, as we say. And also, the other point is like, Krishna says that you should only give that confidential knowledge to the devotees, but the mercy of Lord Chaitanya and Shri Shri Panchatattva is actually, this mercy has to be distributed to the whole world, without discriminating who would receive it. So, the flood of exciting love for it is everyone is qualified. If you are in this age, in Kali Yuga, if you are, struggling with your mind, with your senses, and if you have so many, bad habits, and you can't remember Krishna, and when you chant Hare Krishna, you have no taste for it, this is your best qualification to receive that knowledge, So what to speak of people who are not even struggling with this, but they're struggling with the mind, the senses, So many people are feeling so lonely, they're feeling suicidal, they're feeling so this and that, or they're so engrossed in the false ego that they think that everything is fine, But actually, these are the persons, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, and the rest of the Panchatattva, and all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya who came to save, So we shouldn't discriminate, but obviously if someone is extremely, they say also, if someone is extremely envious, then just, maybe not him, maybe not you for now, give him like a, if we can, give him like a cookie or something, even like the most hardcore atheist, his heart may be melted, just by eating prasad. So, yes, please.
Yeah, in relation to that, I used to go and distribute books in Preston, and we used to park our car in this car park, and there was a husband and wife team. They were car clampers, so they would go and visit all the car parks, and if someone didn't have a ticket on, they would give them a car clamp. So I struck up a relationship with them, and they used to allow me to park there for free. So the guy, he was named Sean, he was really interested when he found out I was a monk, and he bought this book from me, The Science of Self-Realization, and he used to read it, and then the next week I'd see him, and he'd have a long list of questions, and he wasn't like, he wasn't interested, he was interested, but his wife Tracy, she wasn't interested in the books at all, But I used to just give her a pori, like a bread that had been offered to Krishna. She said, "Oh, Chaitanya, I love those breads. Have you got any more of those breads?" So when I used to cook on that day that I was going to Preston, I would make extra puris for Tracy. So I would park up, I would meet Sean, we would have a discussion about the books, we had all these questions, and she'd say, Chaitanya, have you got any of those breads? And I'd say, yeah, and I'd just give her loads of puris. And then a couple of months down the line, she said, I've started reading the book now. It's fantastic, you know? And then she would get, and they both started coming to our Namahat in Preston, and became devotees. And so I think there's always, in essence, Sankirtan means to connect people to Krishna. Someone may not be ready for a book, but they'll definitely eat a sweet ball or a puri, or they'll enjoy the kirtan, or they'll just find the atmosphere in the temple nice. So we have to find somehow or another connect people to Krishna. And then eventually, they will want to read the books. They'll be inspired to read the books. And one thing is that if we're happy practicing Krishna consciousness, we're the best, they don't buy the product, but they buy the person. Ultimately, everyone wants to be happy. So if they meet someone who's happy, they're enthusiastic, they're full of good qualities, they're always positive, then they think, well, what is it that you've got? And you can say, well, I just follow what's here in the books. But just when you were making that point about give them some prasadam or something, or just give them a cookie, that was just a nice example of where that worked.
Yeah, I mean, we have direct experience of that in Wales. During the COVID-19 pandemic, we all went on a sort of Food for Life marathon, and we, a small team of us, temple residents, brahmacharis and everything, what are we going to do? We have so much energy, we can't go out, So our temple president, Taraknath Prabhu, just, came up with the idea, okay, let's just do Food for Life. So many people are stuck in their home, they need food, so let's just do it. And so somehow they was totally empowered by Lord Chaitanya, but we came out, it started with just like, posting flyers in people's letterboxes, and eventually, during the pandemic, we started to distribute as like 1,000 plates of prasadam a day, like takeaways prasadam in a day, and over how many meals did we distribute? Like 100,000, 250,000 meals over the pandemic, was it? It said on the website, so maybe we exaggerated that one, but we distributed 1 million! The entire population of Wales got liberated. But no, so we distributed a lot of meals, and from that effort, the government took notice of us. So like Taraknath Prabhu says, we're not just like happy Harrys just on the street, ching ching bang bang, the government actually started to take us seriously, and they gave us for a new temple, which is a big budget for the temple. It's about £4 or £5 million project. They gave us over £1 million in grants, So because one of the main reasons is because we started to distribute prasadam, and the same government official that may have been like, there's Harrys, they're just like weird people, they wear bed sheets, wall paint on their face. And,
they only give books to not ugly people.
Just people like that. And, but now they take us seriously because we got something, and so it's there's so many ways you can find to melt someone's heart. Someone may have like a hard heart for so many reasons, and they're so justified to have a hard heart, it's such a difficult world to live in, But somehow or other, the devotees can find the most clever way to just melt that heart. So I'm not. Jai. Shri Prabhupada ki Jai. Shri Shri Panchatapa ki Jai. Jai Nitai Gauranga.
His Grace Gauranga Gopal Prabhu ki Jai. Come on, is that all you've got? Ki Jai. Thank you, that was really, really nice. Thank you, Prabhu. So if anyone doesn't have a copy of Share the Gift, we have one for everyone here. So please, before you go today, we have a box at the back on the cupboard there. So please take one with you, read it, and think how you might like to get involved in sharing Krishna consciousness with your friends, with your family, with your relatives. Just get a book and give it to the bus driver, you know? So many ways. There's unlimited ways. Prabhupada said we should tax our brains to think how we can spread Krishna consciousness. So take a book, become inspired, and get involved. Get involved. Now, to start with, we said that basically we said, who enjoys chanting Hare Krishna? And everyone put their hands up, right? So the idea is that when we are enjoying something, we want to share it with everyone else. Now, some of you in the audience may not be convinced, right? Anyone not convinced that Krishna consciousness is fun? Okay, Shravan's not convinced. So therefore, we have to put it into practice. The proof of the pudding is in the eating. So therefore now, we are going to chant Hare Krishna. We're going to sing and dance. We're going to have arti just now. So we're going to ask everyone to stand up. You've been sitting down for a long time. And generally we have the men on this side of the room, and we have the ladies on this side of the room. And we're going to sing and we're going to chant Hare Krishna. Please put all the cushions to the back there. And you may even feel inspired to dance if you have your dancing socks on.
You don't have to, but if anyone wants to, and you sing, you'll sing over it, yeah? You sing.
We could just chant Hare Krishna. We could just chant Kirtan. We'll still have arti. Yes. We want to